Hello YouTubes, today I will not be installing a DCC decoder in the locomotive. I will instead be installing it in this Rotary Snow Plow, along with some extra details. Spoiler alert, this will not be prototypical. I believe this is a vintage Athearn model. I kind of think it's more vintage judging by what's inside, but I'll show you that in a minute. And I think they might have reused this body in later versions. Front turns, I will be painting that bright red or maybe deep red, just to make it look a bit less garish. It has power pickup on that axle and that axle, no pickup at the front, although this bogie truck might actually be metal, so it's got the potential to pick up power from one side, but I'm not going to do that on this video. If the thing works, then I'll maybe add some pickups at the front at a later date, but for now I just want the thing powered so we can turn the fan. It's not got a motor in it to make it go forward and back, it's purely the motor is in there for the rotary bit. And I'll also be adding some lights. Now I did mention this is not going to be prototypical. Normally the lights would be coming out of that little nub there and that one there, but knowing me, if I try drilling a hole there, I'll end up with a gigantic chasm in there. So I'm just going to use that hole there, which I think were maybe windows for the lights. And also not prototypical, I think I'm going to drill a hole in the roof and add a little flashing orange beacon, because why not? I will be using one of these TCS T4 LED basic decoders. So normally I'll put these in my locomotives for forward back movement and 3 separate light functions. So this will be ideal. You can use the motor function for the snowplow rotary thing itself, and I've got options for other lights. I could even add flashing ditch lights, but I'm not quite sure where I would put them. So we'll go for 2 headlights, one at either side there, flashing beacon on the top, moving rotary fans, and I think the first thing I'm going to do is paint that red. But first, let's take it apart. Fairly simple to get into this. There's a little slot there and there. Get a screwdriver in there, lever it out that way. Same on the other side. Now you could just grab the sides and peel the sides out, but you do risk breaking those little ladders. So thankfully, I've not done that, so this is a safer way to do it. The top comes off, and here's where you can see why I think this might be vintage. This gigantic monstrosity, I believe, is a huge resistor. I did check it as a capacitor, and it's definitely not a capacitor, it's just a resistor. So I'm thinking that this might actually be a 6-volt motor in there. Completely exposed. It does work, but it's pretty sketchy in there. It's a bit wobbly, and it's got some rubber drive shaft here, which I may or may not use. I think I actually had to glue this to make it work, so that might get destroyed on the way out. And saying all that, it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to replace this motor with one of my $1 Chinese motors that I got that run really nice, and I think it will fit in there quite nicely. So, step 1 then, try and get this fan out and get that painted. Now, I'm not sure if I have to remove this surround to get the fan out, or if it will just slide out if we can remove this. So give that a shot. As I say, I'll probably replace this rubber pipe with an actual drive. Oh, there we go. Can always re-glue it. So will this come out now? No, it won't. So it looks like we need to take this off after all. And I have no idea how this comes out. Do we see any clips? I don't see any clips. Well, that bit just pops off. Not broken, thank goodness. I see a little metal section protruding through there, which I think is holding the top bit in. Push that forward, maybe that. Oh, no, I've just ignore that. Anything else want to fall off? I think we're good. So if we push that, is it going to... Get a screwdriver in there, lever it maybe. Wonder if there's one at the bottom as well that we can't see. You know what, I'm going to take this front truck off for now. And while it's off, I'll actually show you how this is constructed. It is kind of weird because it's in two parts. You cannot take these wheels off unless you unscrew those screws, because it's in two parts. They kind of slide into each other. And I do think this is metal. I'll do a conductivity test later to see if my theory is correct. But even if I do hook this up to power, I'm only going to get power from one side if this whole truck is metal. So maybe I won't bother doing that at the moment. Right, onward. We're still trying to get this shaft out. And that definitely slides out, but I don't see what it's hitting. Definitely don't want to just pop out and be a good little boy. Ah. This part of the shaft is a bit thicker, which is stopping it from coming out. Maybe if I can just grind that down a little bit. There we go. Oh, almost. There. Excellent. So I'll just pop that back in before I forget. Oh, now it doesn't want to go back in. There we go. Excellent. So I think what I will be doing is painting the inner section of this funnel area red as well. It's a wee bit oily though, it's had oil spraying around it. So I'm going to paint all the inside there red, paint this red. Right, let me put this to the side for now, and we'll paint this first. Awesome. Oh, better put that screw somewhere safe. I'm going to grab some isopropyl alcohol, clean the fan blades for now. Okay, that's better. Let that dry. And that was really so that the paint has got something to stick to. No point trying to paint over oil. I'll do the same with the front, and then we'll dig out some paint. Okay, that's nice, clean, dried. Fan clean, dried. Let's see what sort of job we can make of this. Shouldn't need much paint. That should be plenty. Using a fairly fine brush. And I do know that when you put paint on these brushes, they get even finer, so that should be fine. Right, let's give it a go. I think I'm going to need a couple of coats. Oh my goodness, I might have needed to spray this with something first because it's not really adhering. I wonder if I'm going to have to use enamel on this. Alright, bring it back when that's looking a bit less garbage. Let's see if the fan blades are a bit more receptive to paint. They're not quite as smooth, so there's maybe more chance of the paint actually finding somewhere to land. I wonder if I could leave those little sections there black, just to add a bit of variation. Let's try that. Well, that looks horrible. I suppose it might just need a couple of coats, so I'll let that dry. Try it again. The plastic just does not take the acrylic paint very well at all. But as I say, let that dry, give it another coat. We can actually get on with the actual DCC decoder install. Right, let's do that. While we are waiting for that to dry and then get another coat on that, let's throw some lights into our body. So as I say, not prototypical, the lights should be up in those tiny little dots there. But I'm going to stick in a couple of these 3mm soft white LEDs in through those wee holes. That'll do just fine. For the roof, as I say, again, not prototypical, I'm going to put a flashing yellow light. This one's actually pretty cool because it kind of flashes orange. I do have an orange flashing one, which strangely flashes yellow. It's really bizarre. But anyway, well, actually, this isn't a flashing bulb, but there is a function on the decoder to make it flash. So that's going to save that. Let's make sure it works. So you may have noticed I have hooked up a blue wire to the positive. Black wire is still the negative. And I do have a good reason for that. And that is because on decoders, they tend to be blue is the common positive. So that's just to make that a bit easier. As you can see, when that's off, it looks yellow. But when it's on, it looks orange. At least I hope it looks orange to you. It certainly looks orange to me. And the decoder will make that flash. So that's going to go in the roof. So I need to drill a great ruddy hole in there. Please don't send me hate mail for this. So this top section actually comes off, but in order to get the hole lined up with the second layer underneath, I'm going to drill a small hole straight through to begin with. Actually, let's start with this switched off so that we're right in the middle there. Not that button, this button. Okay, we're all the way through. I could probably just get away with drilling a hole right through both. And I'm going to use this because I don't have a drill bit big enough, or I don't have a bit holder big enough to take this gigantic drill. I know this looks gigantic, but it is the right size for this too. Actually, it's a wee bit big. Let me see if I can find a slightly smaller one. Okay, I think this one's a better size. We can always elongate it or make it a bit wider. Nice and gentle. It'll be straight, like it matters. That looks middle-ish. Let's see if we can stick that bulb through all that plastic. I really just want a few mils sticking up through the top, so hopefully that'll be just about right. Not quite. So what I'll need to do is enlarge the hole on the underside so that that bulb sticks up just a wee bit more. So we need to remove this. Just got a couple of clips at either side. Make that hole bigger, which means I need to go back to the other drill bit. Yeah, horrific. What am I doing? Oh, it needs to be just a smidge bigger. So this yellow shoulder needs to be able to fit through that hole. Just like that. So when we put this back on, our little bulb should stick out quite nicely. And be snug as a bug. Oh, perfect. Okay, so you can see how much that's sticking through. That's exactly what I wanted. Let's just put the battery in there, see how it looks. before we go any further. Again, blue is positive, black is negative. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Now that probably looks mega bright, but there is resistors on the decoder, and once it's flashing it shouldn't be in your face bright, but I think that's going to be pretty good. Let's simulate a flash, shall we? Lovely. Okay. Let's move those wires out of the way for now, because I want to hot glue in the other two headlight bulbs. These guys here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue around the shoulder of these, push them through, hold them in place until they are stuck. Well, we can actually remove this for now, save us making a mess with that. And then once these are in, we will glue in the yellow, or should I do that now? Let's do that now. Ugh, it doesn't really matter, but just a bit of glue ski around there. That should be fine. Get it in before the glue sets. Lovely, that's that set. Let's get the other two in. So this hot glue gun is a high temperature glue gun, so it takes a wee bit longer for the glue to cool down, which is ideal if you don't want it to slow down. So that's sticking out there just nicely there. Let that cool, get the other one in. That's lovely. Right. Excellent. So that's all our lights installed already. Well, when I say they're installed, they're stuck into the shell. So the way that the decoder works, and most decoders, in fact all decoders so far that I've found, they use the blue wire coming out of the decoder as the common positive. So both of these red wires and that blue wire, so that's 3 separate bulbs, they all get attached to the blue wire coming out of the decoder, which is why I made that one blue. Each bulb is triggered with the negative wire, so each individual bulb will be connected to a different coloured wire coming out of the decoder. We'll get to that when we get to it. Right, let's see how our paint is drying. Okay, the paint's not quite dry. I've put another coat on, but while we're waiting for that to dry, we can at least get on with the install of the motor and the decoder. So, I will be adding a little bit of glue in this shaft, but not at the moment because, did I say glue? I meant oil. I don't know what I said. Anyway, a bit of oil down there, a bit of oil down there, but not at the moment because we've got wet paint and oil, and wet paint doesn't work. So I have figured out that I can use one of these couplers, one of these little drive shafts. Same at the other side on the motor. So let's try and ram this on. I did have to drill this hole out just a little smidge to make it tight. So hopefully we can ram that in place. Needs to be tight or it will just spin. And yes, I'm losing the paint off the tip, but we can always add a wee bit more paint there. Oh, that's good. Maybe a little bit close. We have a bit of rubbing going on, so we just need to open that just a little shade. Lovely. Cool. Right, where's the motor going to go? That has to go in there. Let's leave our connectors at the top. I think right there would be just fine, although not rammed right up. We need a little bit of movement, so bring it back a bit there. And that should be enough to spin that. And of course, hot glue. We're not looking for perfection. It only has to turn that. It doesn't have to move the whole locomotive. Well, it's not a locomotive. I'm sure in real life it was a locomotive, but not in this world. I just splotch. Generous helping. Okay. Get a drive shaft in. Oh, I think we need a wee bit more at the back because I've put it in the wrong place. Yum, 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 yum. Okay. Get you in there. Leave enough room for universal joint movement. I do like hot glue. It's fun because once it cools you can just peel it off. Well, hopefully not peel it off where you just glued it, but you get the point. And it sets fairly solid. It's looking pretty good to me. Reasonably straight. If only all motor installs were that easy. So all that's left to do is find somewhere to put the decoder, although I suppose what we could do, hook up some power to this motor. I know we should have done that first, but so far all these motors have been working just fine. So I'll hook up some power. Might even be able to just do it with this. It is a 12 volt battery, so sorry, it's a 12 volt motor, so that should work just fine. The red should be positive. There we go. And the fan should help dry the paint. Excellent, so far so good. And remember, this will be adjustable because I'm hooking this up as the motor in the decoder, as if it's trying to move the loco, so we can adjust the speed, which is the whole point of doing this. Right, let me dig out the decoder and we'll get on to the good bit. Where shall we put this little decoder? It does have a little socket for a keep alive, which I might end up getting because I think it would be easier just to pay the money, get a little keep alive to keep it going rather than trying to wire up power from the front. Again, we will revisit that possibility in the future. So I think if I don't want to have to remove this, I really need to install this over there so that I've got access to that little socket. If I put it right in the middle, then that little shaft's going to get in the way. So I think we will just stick on some glue in there. Can always peel it off if we don't like it there, but that should be just fine. Stick you there, hold that for a minute, and then we can wire it up. Yeah, we're getting close to a result here. Still get access for my wire there, my wire there. I don't have access for the screw at the bottom for the truck, unfortunately, but again, we can peel that off if we have to do something with the truck. Right, give me a sec. Okay, we are stuck down. Let's get some wiring done. I'm not going to give you a complete start to finish tutorial on wiring a decoder. You should probably know it by now. But basically, the red and the black wire from the decoder, namely these two here, are going to be the pickups from either side of the rails. So the red to the right, black to the left. Let me do that. Lovely, so we now have power going into the decoder from the left and right rails. Next up, let's add some power from the decoder to the motor. So we require 2 wires, the orange and the grey. The orange is kind of like the live, I suppose, and the grey is kind of like the black, being the negative, just to remind you. Tuck these out of the way for now. So, orange. There's just a little red dot on this motor, so let's hope that that's the positive side. If not, we can always change it in the CV settings in the decoder itself. So that technically should work, as in that should be able to be programmed to spin. So all the other wires are just for the lights. So I'll just snap over to the track, make sure we're working so far, back in a sec. Okay, the motor's working as it should. Let's get some lights installed. Now, blue, remember I said common positive. So the blue has to get connected to this blue wire here that I've already soldered. All the reds and the blues, all the positives are connected to that blue. So we just need to connect that one to there. Get a big chunk of heat shrink over the top of that. That doesn't need to be quite so long. And we do have plenty of room in there. Nothing's going to foul it if we keep everything to that side. So the blue is going to get connected to that. Now, because both the headlights are going to come on at the same time, they're just going to get wired up together. So for the front lights, it's going to be the white wire. So that's going to go to the negative of both of those front headlights. So the blue is going to all the positives. And finally, the other negative is coming from the flashy light on the top. And let's go with the green function for that. Both the green and the purple are the special light functions. The yellow wire would be a rear light that we're not using on this install. So let me connect all them. See you shortly. So we're all wired up. White going to the negative of both the front headlights. Green going to the negative of the flashy light. And the blue going to all the positives of all the lights. Orange going to the red dot on the motor. Hopefully it spins the right way. Doesn't really matter. You're not going to see it that much. And grey going to the negative of the motor. Let's get the shell back on. Stuff these wires in. I could put some frosted glass effect on these so we don't see the wires, but this will do for now. Try not to break all my ladders. And I need to obviously get that truck back on. Clippity clip, and we are back in place. Lovely. That still turns. Get that back on, and there's one more little job I want to do, and that will be painting all the ladders. So let me get all the ladders painted white, and I'll see you on the track. Oh, and I also need to put all the bits on that fell off. They just clip on. I've not actually broken them. Right, see you in a second on the track. Okay folks, then I have painted all the ladders and the handrails and the steps and whatever they're called. I've also remembered to add some oil to that shaft inside the motor area. Let's see if anything works. Let us start with the headlights. Oh, that's a nice colour, I think. Fitting with the era of the plough, I believe. Switch them off for now. Let us try the rooftop flashy light. Flashing, and it does indeed look quite orange. I like that. Now that is adjustable. I can change that to a strobe or a Mars light or anything, but I quite like it just flashing away like that. Switch that off. And the all-important plough itself. So that's at speed step 2. Speed step 1 is a wee bit chunky. But it is quite an old shaft and motor and everything. Not bad. So that's about as slow as it would go, which is fine because you can see it. And we can take it up a bit faster to smooth it out. Gets a bit quieter when it goes faster as well. But you can't see it. Well, you can kind of see it. I did think about painting those sort of spirals on it like you get in jet engines, but that would be silly. Nice and smooth at that speed though. And then with the lights on, and with a flashy light. Everything working as it should. But I will need to install this Keep Alive when I get one because it goes off. As you would expect. It might get better as we run it around the track. But it all works, just needs a Keep Alive to make it perfect. Pretty happy with that. So that's a project I've been promising to do for the last couple of months, maybe more. Anyway, it turned out pretty much the way I would like. I will need to fit a Keep Alive to it though, it's a bit flickery, I did test it, I cheated. But I do need to find something to shove it around the layout. Normally in real life it would have its own engine and a tender. Doesn't have either. So it will need to get shoved. Don't have any snow either, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Anyway, victory lap time. Thanks for watching, see you very soon. Bye.